Go.
Hi, my name is Bill Porter. I'm the CDL instructor for the Rite driving school, and I'm making this video to help my students get through the pre-trip inspection. Now, the way I do the pre-trip inspection is basically part 1 is the in-cab, part 2 is the engine, part 3 are going to be the axles, part 4 is going to be the outside of the truck, and then part 5 will be the light check. Now, the pre-trip will start outside the vehicle where the examiner will give you the instructions and tell you to begin. And like I say, I would come inside and start here. But before I come inside, I want to make sure the examiner knows that the wheels are chocked, there's no obstructions around the truck's not leaning, and I'm also looking underneath for any major leaks or puddles. Okay, once inside, I want to go over a couple things. I want to make sure he knows that anytime I start the truck, I'll do what's called a safe start, which is where you're going to push the clutch in and then start the engine. Now, when you turn the key on, you'll notice a lot of dash lights come on. One of them is your ABS light, and it should come on and cancel before you do anything else. And that'll get you a point by telling them you check your ABS light. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do in here is an air brake check. It's 7 steps. Step 1 is to tell the examiner I'm going to start the engine, make sure the compressor builds up to about 120 and cuts off. Now, once you start the engine, you want to idle the motor at about 10. Okay? Now, while I'm waiting for step 1 of the air brake check to finish, there's a couple things I want to check. One being my volt gauge. And I'm going to tell the examiner I checked the volt gauge, shows that the system is charging. Then over here, I'm going to check my water temperature gauge is in the safe range, under 200. I'm going to check that the oil pressure is in the proper range, at least 20 at idle. Okay. I also want to make sure I check my indicator lights. I've already checked the ABS indicator. Now I'm going to check the left indicator, then the right, then the 4-ways, and then the high beams. So you turn on the headlight, then you grab it, and the high beam. Okay. Now, step 1 of the air brake check is over. The compressor built up to 120 and shut off. So I'm going to do step 2. Step 2 is to turn the key off. Turn the engine off, but to leave the key on. Now it's going to take a few seconds for the thing to calibrate, so don't start moving too fast. Step 3 is to push in the red valve, which is the trailer brake, and the yellow valve, which is the parking brake. And you don't have to worry about the truck rolling because, like I say, you've already told them the wheels are chocked. Okay. Now, step 4, I want to squeeze the service brake for a minute, making sure I don't lose more than 4 pounds after the initial air drop. And you got to make sure you time it for a minute. If you forget to bring your watch, just simply ask the examiner to time it for you, and usually they will. Okay? So, we're going to say it's been a minute, and we're going to tell the examiner we haven't lost more than 4 pounds of air. So now I want to do step 5. I want to fan the brake pedal to get the low air warning, the air to drop to 60 to make sure the low air warning comes on. And it does. And then step 6, continue to fan the brake to 20 to make sure the red and the yellow valves pop out. Now, these two valves should pop out together somewhere around 20. But if one pops out and the other don't, make sure you keep feeding it. Okay, so that's step 6. And now step 7 is to simply tell the examiner you're going to restart the engine and make sure it builds up to 120 again and cuts out. Now remember your safe start. Clutch in, make sure you're in neutral, and then start her up. Okay. So there's a few more things in here that we need to talk about. We need to talk about the seatbelt. We need to tell them that the seatbelt's not worn, torn, or frayed. We need to show them that the seatbelt locks and releases properly. You need to tell them that you have spare fuses, you have 3 reflectorized triangles, and you got a fully charged, properly rated fire extinguisher. You have to show them that your heater and your defroster works properly. So check the defroster. You got to put your hand up here and feel. And then your heater. Okay. Now I'm going to check my wipers. I want to check the wiper arms and blades are secure. There's no damage. I want to make sure that I check that the wiper is not worn and it has good tension on the windshield. And naturally, I also want to make sure that it works properly. I also want to check that the washer works properly. Then I'm going to check my windshield. I need to tell the examiner the windshield is free of obstructions. There's no damage to the glass. There's no illegal stickers. And the windshield is clean. I need to mention to the examiner that I'm checking my mirrors are properly adjusted. I need to show them that my horns work, the city horn and the air horn. Okay? And now I'm down to the nitty-gritty where I need to check that my brakes work. Now there's 3 brakes in here that need to be checked. The trailer brake, the parking brake, and the service brake, which is just a fancy name for your brake pedal. Okay? Now, the way you check the parking brake is you push in the red and leave the yellow out. Put it in 4th gear, and put a little pull on it. Do not try to stall the engine. Just put a little drag. It's called a tug. And it holds. So then I put it back in neutral. And I tell them, okay, now I want to check the trailer brake. To check the trailer brake, I pull out the red, push in the yellow. Again, I put it in 4th gear and give it a little tug. And it holds. I go back to neutral, pull out the yellow valve, and the last thing I'm checking inside is my service brake. And I don't actually have to do this. See, some things inside here you actually have to do, like the wipers and the heater, the horns and all. But some things you just say, like the windshield and the mirrors and the, you know. So we're just going to tell them about checking the service brake. So you explain that to check the service brake works properly, you push in the red and the yellow valve, you put it in gear, and you move forward at about 5 miles an hour, hitting the service brake, making sure the vehicle stops properly without pulling. Okay? So now I'm pretty confident that that's about everything we can do inside. My wife here is doing a video taping, and she used to be a certified MBA examiner, so I'm going to see what she thinks if I'm ready to move on to part 2, which would be my engine check. And she's giving me the heads up, so we're going to take a pause here, and I'll meet you outside in a second.